What's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB, and welcome to day 4 of 31 days of Royal Rumble reviews. Last night, Zach, I, and the rest of the Twitch viewership watched the 1991 Royal Rumble. And this time I remembered actually to write down the victories and all that on my notes, so we won't have to do with that much this time. Let me just get this all set up the way I like it. Alright, so we watched the 1991 Royal Rumble last night, and without just wasting any time, let's just jump right into it. Jesse the Body Ventura, not on commentary this time. First time Jesse Ventura not on commentary. This year, it was Gorilla Monsoon and Hot Rod Roddy Piper. First time I've ever heard Roddy Piper on commentary, and God, I hope it's the last time. Roddy Piper just screams on commentary the whole time. Like, he's just always like, I don't know what you're talking about, Gorilla. Like, all sorts of just screaming coming from Roddy Piper throughout this entire show. In fact, it was kind of funny because there's parts where he'd be like, well, I can't even hear myself right now. And I'm just like, well, yeah, because you probably blew out your eardrum by screaming all night long. But we open up the night with our opening match, tag team action. The Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, going on to face the Orient Express, Kato and Tanaka, who are with Mr. Fuji. I never have seen Kato or Tanaka wrestle, so I don't know which one is the one under their mask. But there was one guy wrestling under a mask, and I'm almost certain that this guy was a white guy. It makes sense. Put the white or, guy not Asian under the mask so you can tell that he's also Asian too. Don't quote me on this, because, I mean, the guy who told me, the villain who's, he's always in my chat. He likes to troll a lot, so I don't know if he was being honest with me or not, but I think the dude under the mask was Paul Diamond. I could be wrong, though. Like I said, I don't know. That's what I was told. I haven't looked it up, so I don't know. But like I said, there was definitely a white dude under that mask. I'd be surprised if he wasn't white. There was a really cool spot. Shawn Michaels, he's, in the corner, and he's doing those, corner punches to the guy while he's standing on top of him. And he sees the masked Orient Express member come up from behind him, and he does a moonsault onto him. It was just a really cool looking spot, going from the punches and then a moonsault onto the other guy. Really enjoy that. Another thing I really enjoyed about this match, something pretty simple. It was the Rockers gear. The Rockers, they were wearing their typical, if you've ever seen the Rockers, you know that they have these kind of weird gear going on, with tassels and all sorts of weird colors. Well, this one was kind of a darker one, and I don't know if you guys have ever gone to an arcade growing up. I grew up in an arcade, so it's I didn't literally grow up, but what I mean is an arcade was a big part of my childhood growing up, so it was just a nice little flashback for me, because the Rockers tights looked like the floors from the arcade, that whole dark and starry color that they used to do. So that was just something I liked. There was at one point where Mr. Fuji took a shot at Shawn Michaels with his cane, so he goes and smacks him with the cane. No DQ, surprisingly, but he did get hit with the cane at one point. The ending of the match goes with the Orient Express. What did I write here? Tries to use rope, but HPK counters. Oh, I remember what they were doing. I don't know why I said rope. It wasn't a rope. The Orient Express, they're martial artists or something, so they have black belts down to the ring. Well, one of them took off their black belt and a part of the match, and they go, the Orient Express were holding it out like this, and they go to use the black belt to clothesline Shawn Michaels. Well, Shawn Michaels, instead of just ducking it, decides to jump up into the rope, so he goes onto the rope, and both the Orient Express members just headbutt each other after that. And then the match ends after either Kato or Tanaka, one of the members of the Orient Express, goes for a slingshot on Shawn Michaels into his partner, but Shawn instead counters the slingshot into a sunset flip to get the pinfall win for the Rockers in the opening match. We then move on to, oh boy, a very interesting promo, to say the least, coming up here. Macho King starts off in the back saying how, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna get after Ultimate Warrior, Boss Man, whoever wins, or not Boss Man, Ultimate Warrior, Sergeant Slaughter, whoever wins tonight and all that. And Sherry's gonna go out there and call that Warrior right now, which we then go to the outside to our sensational Queen Sherry, or whatever she was called, is coming out to call out the Ultimate Warrior. Sherry, this is my second time ever seeing her talk, and she's very, what's the word? She has moments of where you're really enjoying it. But then there's other moments where it's just dragging on and on and on. You're just like, okay, Sherry, let's hurry this up. She has, like, I feel like she's got good mic skills. She just doesn't understand her delivery. Like, sometimes she delivers really good, and other times you're like, you just dragging this point into the mud. Like, at one point in there, she calls Ultimate Warrior yellow, which you're just like, oh, okay, there you go. But then she just hammers that yellow point away, and you're like, all right, I get where you're going with this. So that got a little annoying after a while there. But she ends up calling out the Ultimate Warrior. Warrior comes out, and then it gets weird. First off, it seems like Sensational Sherry is heckling Warrior, bullying him and just, bringing him down and all that. And then she turns like a complete 180 and starts trying to seduce the Ultimate Warrior. So she's all like saying, I've always wondered what it would be like to put my hands on your chest. And then she kisses him, and Warrior does like this pull back, but then he's all, and he does like one of the strangest smiles I think I've ever seen. He was just like, it was creepy. It was definitely creepy. It just went on a little too long here. In fact, there's at one point where Sherry got down on her knees, and everyone in that crowd erupted like, what is going on here? I jumped out of my chair I'm like, yo, she's on her knees. What is happening? It was getting a little weird. Finally, Warrior turns her down by saying, no! And Sherry's just terrified, and you can hear Macho King in the back. What did he say? He say no? It was pretty funny. He comes running out to, get the Ultimate Warrior, and he runs out from, all the side. He does this really cool, jump over the apron, too. Freaking flawless. He ends up getting to Sherry, but Sherry is the only one on the podium. Warrior has left. He doesn't give a damn. He's got a world title to defend tonight, so there you have that. And then speaking of the world title, we jump in to the world title match after this. I mean, not directly after it. We have a couple interviews. We do, an Ultimate Warrior promo and a Sergeant Slaughter promo. The promos were not the best things in the world, especially Slaughter's. The one thing I really will make of note of Sergeant Slaughter's promo was he said the ultimate puke a lot. Like, he would call people puke this, puke that. So they weren't that great. I actually jumped the gun here, by the way. We had a match before the world title. My bad. It was Big Boss Man taking on the Barbarian with Bobby the Brain Heenan. This match didn't make much sense to me. From what I understand, Big Boss Man is feuding with Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Bobby the Brain Heenan had the Barbarian represent him in this match. I don't know exactly the story here. It wasn't the best match of the night. It was definitely better than his match against Hacksaw last year. Hacksaw, and we'll see Hacksaw later on tonight. He looks a lot healthier than he did last year. But I got to give Bossman credit when credit is due. We saw him at the second Royal Rumble, the third Royal Rumble, and now our fourth one. And every year, this guy has slimmed down. Like Bossman in 1989, he was a huge dude. And then we went to 1990. He was still pretty big, but he was slimming down. And now, Homeboy's fucking slim now. Holy crap. There you go, Bossman. Good on you at this time. And not only that, but the Big Bossman is over, guys. His music goes off, and the crowd erupts. They are into the Big Bossman. They like Bossman. Roddy Piper, throughout the majority of this match, was calling Bobby the Brain Heenan boobs. I don't know why, but he kept going, oh, there goes boobs. So there you have it. Bossman actually spit on boobs at one point. But the ending of the match was very out of nowhere. I don't even really remember what happened. I don't know if he got a bulldog or something. It just kind of happened. But Bossman picks up the victory out of nowhere over Barbarian. He gets the win. It was a match. I wouldn't call it the worst match of the night, but it's probably the second, to last of the matches. Although, to be honest, the matches itself weren't that great tonight. Our opening match between the Rockers and the Orient Express was really good, and the Rumble itself was pretty good. But Bossman versus Barbarian was average. We did a pretty much a squash match, which we'll get to, between Coco Beware and the Mountie. The world title match was and then we had a tag team match that was actually pretty enjoyable, but I feel like it overstayed its welcome after a while. But that might have been the best match of the night, actually, but we'll get to it when we get to it. I already went over the interviews with Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter, so let's just jump right into our WWF World Championship match. This is between the time that Sergeant Slaughter has turned his back on America and has aligned himself with Iran and General Adon, who I think is the Iron Sheik, but I'm not sure. But there you have it. Sergeant Slaughter is the heel going into this. He is the turncoat as he's taking on the Ultimate Warrior for the WWF Championship that he won at the WrestleMania last year. So he's been almost holding it for a year. Match starts with General Adon, and maybe it wasn't just General Adon. Maybe it was just Sergeant Slaughter. Maybe I'm confusing this spot with the Orient Express earlier. But Sergeant Slaughter goes to pretty much clothesline Ultimate Warrior with the flag, but Warrior dodges it and then takes him down. And in fact, he actually breaks the flag in half at one point, which that so wouldn't slide nowadays in WWE. Like, they would be so quick to, that country would be like, whoa, you can't do that with our flag. Like, they would have to apologize or something for sure. This match, Sergeant Slaughter definitely isn't the bet. Like, he's selling like a champion. Like, everything Ultimate Warrior does, Sergeant Slaughter makes it look like $1 million. But when he's the one in control, it's not very entertaining. You can tell that Slaughter was kind of on his career downfall at this moment, which is kind of messed up to say. But you can tell that he's seeing his best years behind him. The really only interesting thing that the interesting things that happened here was Sensational Sherry interfered not once but twice. The first time she interfered, she came down to distract the Warrior. And Warrior was bouncing off the ropes. She grabs his leg, which leads to Warrior chasing Sherry outside the ring. Sherry goes running up the ramp. Warrior's following her. And who's there? Macho King. Sherry leads Warrior right into the Macho King. Macho King jumps the Ultimate Warrior, starts beating him down, hits him with a light post. I guess the referee wasn't paying attention because there was no DQ. So there you have it, the Macho King Randy Savage taking down Ultimate Warrior right there. We then go to the back of the back in the in-ring action portion here. Sergeant Slaughter took his time, trying to, Ultimate Warrior was being counted out and Slaughter's just waiting for him to get back in the ring, and it wasn't until the referee got pretty close to the 10 count that he was like, all right, fine, I'll go back in there. He was probably trying to catch his breath at the time, but still. It was just like, come on, dude, go out there and break up the pin. What are you worried about? You could break up the pin. You don't have to try to distract the referee, which he was trying to do. There was one point as well where Ultimate Warrior was walking around the ring, and you have Slaughter with an axe handle, following him around, looking like he's about to hit him with an axe handle. But then he quickly turns it around into a bear hug, a very lazy bear hug, mind you. The 1980, early 90s and 80s, or late 80s, is looking like the bear hug was just some of the laziest things ever. They're not even lifting the person up. It's just a hug, pretty much, with a squeeze. Pretty lazy bear hugs. At one point, Sergeant Slaughter is able to lock in the camel clutch on the Ultimate Warrior, but Warrior's feet were clearly under the ropes. His feet were hanging outside of the ring. That's how under the ropes they were. So that was obviously a rope break. Actually, I don't think it was a rope break. I think Earl Hebner was about to ring the bell until he stood up and saw Warrior's feet and was like, hold up, wait, no. Slaughter, of course, thought it was a win, so he jumps up yeah, I won the title, but Earl Hebner does one of the funniest thing ever, because you see he's raising his hand, and Hebner jumps up and smacks his hand down no, you didn't win. The jump itself is just what made me laugh. So you have that happen, and then finally we get towards the end of the match. Sensational Sherry comes right back out again for the distraction. This time, Warrior's not having any of it. He grabs Sherry by her hair, tosses her in the ring, and it looks like he's gonna beat her up. That's when the Macho King comes out. Macho King's yelling at Warrior you better not, and then Warrior tosses Sensational Sherry out onto the Macho King. He's still kind of distracted and talking shit to Macho King and Sherry while this happens. It leads to Sergeant Slaughter hitting him with a knee to the back. Ultimate Warrior goes into the ropes, so he's kind of hanging on the second rope. Macho King takes his scepter, smacks it. I mean, he smacks it, breaks it over Warrior's head. Jesus Christ. And he breaks it over Warrior's head. Sergeant Slaughter drops an elbow just to make sure he's knocked out. 1, 2, 3. Sergeant Slaughter's the new WWF champion. To the surprise of everybody. They weren't sure, Roddy Piper was can we count this and all this? The crowd was not happy. It was just that there's probably a reason why this did not end the show, because they did not want to send the crowd home upset that the turncoat Sergeant Slaughter won the championship. There was one thing that definitely spelled the end for the Ultimate Warrior here, I feel. During the, Sergeant Slaughter celebration, Ultimate Warrior just kind of goes racing up the ramp to go after Macho King and Elizabeth. That's not what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. While Sergeant Slaughter is celebrating and Ultimate Warrior goes running up the ramp, the crowd starts chanting for Hogan. Hogan, Hogan, Hogan. And you're just like, that's not a good sign for Warrior. He's the one that just lost the championship, and you're chanting for Hogan to come down. So, not a good sign for Ultimate Warrior, and I think that's when WWF finally was starting to see, maybe even before, I don't know how it was, but they were definitely starting to see the writing on the wall that Hogan's still our guy. So there you have that. We then go on to our next match of the night, but before we get to the next match, I guess we didn't have interviews. I thought we had some interviews before that. Maybe not. I guess not. I think we did. I just didn't write it down. I think Hulk Hogan cut a promo or something. It wasn't really anything of worth. No, he didn't cut a promo because I'm... Hold on. Let me check. Did I write down that he wrote a promo? Yeah, he did. He does it early. He does it later in the show, because I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I made a note of Hogan writing the promo because he stutters in it. Anyway, I guess there was no interviews or anything in between this. We just jump right into the next action between the Mountie, who's being accompanied by Jimmy Hart, taking on Koko Beware, who alongside comes with Frankie, his bird. This match was just a squash. Koko Beware got like little to no action in this matchup. It was pretty much all Mountie the entire time. The interesting thing about Mountie was kind of funny is when they announced him, they just announced him from Canada. Nowhere in specific in Canada, no Montreal, no Quebec, no Manitoba, none of that, just Canada. That's all the Mountie's from, is just Canada. Jimmy Hart was very funny in this matchup. He was mocking Frankie, the bird, like laughing at him and pointing at him while Koko Beware is getting beat up, which was majority of the match. Like I said, this was just a glorified squash match. It didn't belong on the card. It shouldn't have been on this card. Definitely the worst match of the night. It dragged on way too long for being a squash match, too. Like I said, Koko got barely any in-ring, he barely got any action in for himself, so it was just a squash. Worst match of the night. We then jump into more of our interviews. We have the Macho King responding to Warrior, pretty much saying, he gave Warrior a chance to give him his title match. He told him no, so now Macho King's going after the Boss Man. Why do I keep calling him Boss Man? He's now going after Sergeant Slaughter and all that stuff. And, we start hearing, like, banging on the door, which obviously is supposed to be the Ultimate Warrior. He doesn't actually break the door down, so we never see it being the Ultimate Warrior. But we also see Macho King and Sensational Sherry dip out of here, which will be, kind of important for upcoming in the Royal Rumble. We'll get to that when we get to that. So, Macho King and Sensational Sherry dip. Sean Mooney's like, oh, I hate to be in between the... I hate to be the guy that gets in between Macho King and Ultimate Warrior, but despite him being the guy in between Macho King and Ultimate Warrior, and then he dips. Sean Mooney's funny. I like Sean Mooney. He cracks me up. He's got good delivery. We then move into more interviews. We go back to Sergeant Slaughter now, who is cutting his interview, calling everybody pukes. You can barely understand a word he's saying. He seems like he's getting gassed just cutting this promo. The only real thing I really remember about the promo is General Adon's creepy smile. He's sitting there the whole time, just... It was creepy. It was creepy. He's just happy to be there. And then what do we lead to after Sergeant Slaughter cuts his anti-American promo about becoming WWE champion? We get war interviews. Just a bunch of interviews from random fans who, by the way, were saying their names. If I wasn't streaming on my, using my phone to see the chat for the stream, I probably would have looked up some of their names on Facebook and seen if I could have found them. But we have a whole bunch of interviews from all these people talking about the war. It's kind of surreal, to be honest, just you kind of see where you're at, at this time period and how big the war was. You don't see stuff like that anymore. We haven't really had a serious war in a long time, I guess, unless you count the Iraqi war, but they really didn't do anything like that for the Iraqi war. At least I don't remember them doing it. So it was kind of interesting to see some of these war interviews, and as fucked up as it sounds, I and Zach could not help laughing at some of these interviews. some of these people were just like, hi, yeah, I'm blah, 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 and I want the troops to do good. Come on back. And you're just like, what? Some of them are laughable. I'm not laughing at the fact that there's a war going on and that there's troops at, over there. I'm just laughing at some of these guys' delivery on the mic. It's pretty funny. And after the war interviews, what do we get? Yet some more interviews. There's a lot of interviews before this next matchup. This time we get a bunch of Rumble promos. Only ones really of note that I thought were enjoyable is we got a good promo from Jake the Snake Roberts, as always. Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, actually cut a very good promo. He talks about how the tornado's going to land and all that, which, you would think would be cheesy because, he's pretty much just going with his tornado gimmick. But I appreciate that, for one, because that is his gimmick, so you're keeping with your gimmick. Plus, it was just a good promo. He cut a really good promo. Good on him. Brother Love was with The Undertaker. I wouldn't really say they cut a good promo. It was just kind of interesting to see Brother Love and Taker, despite me knowing that they're, that was his first manager. It's just such a mismatch pairing. I don't understand why they did it. Taker actually talks. He's very young looking, The Undertaker, by the way. He talks and he says his iconic line, "Rest in peace." But, he doesn't say it slow for one. He doesn't go, "Rest in peace." He says it relatively quickly, and he doesn't even say "rest in peace." He says, "Resting in peace." That's exactly how he says it. Resting in peace. So there you have that. We then go on to a good promo from Hacksaw. As always, Hacksaw Jim Duggan knows how to cut a promo. And then Rick the Model Martel. I love his accent he does in his promo. "You think you're so pretty?" He's so great. I love Rick the Model Martel. He's coming one of my favorites. And you'll never guess what happens after the Rumble promos, guys. We jump into yet another promo. This time with Ted DiBiase and Virgil. DiBiase's pretty much cutting his promo on his upcoming match against the Rhodes family, which is Dustin and Dusty Rhodes. It'll be a tag team match with him and Virgil versus them. The entire time in the promo, though, Ted DiBiase is heckling Virgil, kind of calling him down and belittling him. It was interesting how I said last year, it seems like they were starting to tease towards Virgil and Ted DiBiase's feud. And here we are a year later, and they're still teasing toward this feud, but it's getting a little bit more intense. Like, DiBiase is, like, putting him down, calling Virgil worthless and all this stuff, and you can see Virgil getting angry while it's happening, so it's happening here. And then finally, we jump into said tag team match, Ted DiBiase and Virgil taking on Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. This is before Dustin became Goldust. In fact, I didn't even know Dusty and Dustin worked for the WWF at the same time, so that was cool to me to see them in tag team action. Apparently, this is Virgil's first match. I didn't Google or look it up to see if it legitimately was his first match, but they mentioned it in the promo how it was Virgil's first match, so we're going to operate with the style that it was his first match. Virgil's very stiff, by the way. He's not holding back his punches. You can tell if it is his first match, he hasn't learned how to throw a punch yet, because he's pretty stiff, but you know what? He sells pretty good, and that's all that matters. Virgil, you know what? He was over, and he was getting his job done. It's a shame that he's kind of laughed at nowadays because there's plenty of other people out there who are, in my opinion, bigger jokes than Virgil. It's just, it's just how he fell down, unfortunately, how he handled his money. There really wasn't of much to note of this matchup. It was an enjoyable match. It might be the best match of the night. It's kind of that between a tie between that and the opening match of the Rockers. If I had to think about it, I feel like I enjoyed the Rockers match more than I enjoyed the Rhodes match, so I'm going to have to rank that as the best match of the night. But there really wasn't much of note until more of the end of this matchup. By the way, Dusty Rhodes was very scarred in this match. My buddy Zach kept pointing it out, wondering if he went to New Japan or something. I don't know, but yeah, he definitely had some scars going on him. But like I said, there really wasn't much until more towards the end of the match, and I'm just going to go over that. So at one point, the $1 Million Man's holding, I believe it was Dustin. It could have been Dusty, though, and waiting for Virgil to hit him with a clothesline. Of course, the Rhodes member ducks the clothesline, and Virgil ends up hitting the $1 Million Man, and you can tell he's upset. He's like, "Damn it, I didn't mean to do that." And he's all, like, "Are you all right?" Like, patting him and stuff like that. Like, okay, and he's like, he goes to leave and get back on the apron, like, "Damn, I did not mean to hit, I didn't mean to hit Ted." DiBiase, on the other hand, that didn't make him too happy. He ended up going after Virgil and beats him down and sends him out of the ring. And then the interesting thing here, hold on. Phew, had a sneeze. The interesting thing here, despite Virgil being, knocked out, Ted DiBiase rolls Dusty Rhodes up, grabs the tights as well, and picks up the victory. So the $1 Million Man and Virgil, despite Virgil's incompetence, I guess, still go over the Rhodes family. So there you have it. We then go to after the match where DiBiase grabs the mic, gets Virgil in the ring, and he pretty much demands Virgil, you know what? You're gonna come back in here, you're gonna get my $1 Million Championship, and you're gonna put it around my belt, and he's gonna do it because money talks and all that stuff. So Virgil, he comes in, he grabs the belt, he acts like he's gonna put it around the $1 Million Man's waist, but instead he just throws it on the ground, saying, you know what, fuck this, I ain't doing that. DiBiase's pissed. He's just like, what are you doing? Are you kidding? You're gonna pick that damn belt and you're gonna put it around my waist right now. Think about your mom and all that thing. Started bringing it. Ted DiBiase is the originator of the your mom joke apparently, because he's just like, think about your mom and all her sickness. I guess his mom is sick or something, or that's the storyline they're trying to go with, and why Virgil needs the money. And he just demands that Virgil picks up the $1 Million Championship and put it around his waist. Virgil does go ahead and picks up the $1 Million Championship, but he doesn't put it around the $1 Million Man's waist. He straight up clocks the $1 Million Man with the $1 Million Championship, taking him out and turning face in the process. So there you go. Virgil has turned face, and I believe this is leading to Virgil versus the $1 Million Man, where Virgil will win the $1 Million Championship from him. All right. We then go into before the Rumble. We have Hulk Hogan cutting an interview before the Rumble. A very funny interview. He's pretty much going on about how Sergeant Slaughter, how he won the World Championship and how disgusted he is, and, all this stuff. And there is at one point where Mean Gene's like hearing someone over his ear, and he's like, well, Hulk, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think I just heard that Sergeant Slaughter just defaced the American flag. And Hogan's just like, if that's true, Mean Gene, and Sergeant Slaughter just defaced the American flag, then Slaughter this is almost just like Hassan's reign. Like, he stutters. I don't know if he was going to say, like, Gaddafi or something, but he's just sitting there like, oh, like he doesn't know what he's about to say, and then quickly goes, this is just like Saddam Hussein's reign, and something like that. And you're just like, what are you talking about? So there you have it. Hulk Hogan cuts his interview, and then we jump into the 4th ever Royal Rumble match. Same rules as before. Still no mention about if it has to be 2 feet that touch the floor or not. All they've ever mentioned was all they do is go over the top rope and have to touch the floor. Managers are still allowed in here, so that dumb rule from Royal Rumble 1989 is still done. Managers are allowed and probably will be done forever because it's just retarded. Number 1 was Bret the Hitman Hart. So Bret Hart, the first person ever in Rumble history to enter the number 1 spot twice. He was number 1 in the very first Royal Rumble and number 1 in this one. Number 2 is Dino Bravo, who for a moment I thought Dino Bravo broke Jake Roberts' record of being, in the, 4th Royal Rumble, his 4th Royal Rumble, back to back to back like that, the first person to do it. I was wrong. Dino Bravo was not in the 2nd Royal Rumble. He was in the opening 6-man tag team match between the Hart Foundation and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, taking on the Fabulous Joes and Dino Bravo. So that was incorrect by me. This is his 3rd Royal Rumble, not his 4th. Jake Roberts does continue the record, though, as he is the first man to not only enter the Royal Rumble for the 2nd time, but the 3rd time, and now the 4th time. So good on Jake Roberts, who is also in a feud with the model Rick Martel at this time. So there you have that. I forgot to mention it. Dino Bravo was the first elimination of the night. He got eliminated rather early as well. There wasn't a whole lot going on, just so basic Rumble. Not a whole lot of stories being told in this one, really. Just 30 men in the Rumble. Actually 29, but we'll get to that in a moment. Referee McMahon is here, a young Shane McMahon again. And there's a funny part. Rick Martel is standing on the apron, right? He's about to be eliminated. He's standing on the apron. And you have Shane McMahon sitting there counting. 1, 2. Like he's doing a 5 count on Rick Martel while he's on the apron. And you're just like, what are you doing? He can't get off the apron, because if he gets off the apron, he'll be eliminated. And he can't just really get back in the ring, or else he's going to get his ass kicked. Like he's waiting for his moment. Why are you counting him, Shane? Just was funny. Last Royal Rumble, they mentioned that 8 was the most we've had at a time in the Rumble. That was broken. A lot of records broken in this Rumble, by the way. Not only was it was the longest Rumble at the time, but we had the longest Iron Man in this match, and we had the most people in it at 11 people in the Royal Rumble. So here's the thing why I said it was 29 men instead of 20 or 30 men. At number 18, no one showed up. We had the 10 count. There was no music. No one came out. And then once number 19 came out, Roddy Piper said something interesting and said, well, that's it. Number 18's been eliminated then, which was interesting to me because I guess if you don't come out before your Rumble or before the next number, you're eliminated. That's interesting. But it turned out that number 18, I'm just going to say it right now, was the Macho King. Macho King didn't show up because him and Sherry left the show. They were saying, fuck this, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with Ultimate Warrior's anger right now. So they got out of there. So Macho King never showed up, and we have ourselves a 29-man Royal Rumble. So there you have it. We've had a 20-man, a 30-man, a 40-man, and now a 29-man Royal Rumble. Interesting. Rick Martel ended up being the Iron Man of the match. There was a lot of Iron Mans in here. I believe at one point it was Greg the Hammer Valentine, and then it became Hercules, and then it became Rick Martel. So the model Rick Martel was the Iron Man in this match, and I believe he set the record for the longest in the Rumble at the time at like 50-something minutes. This was also the Rumble that we all know. Bushwhacker Luke came out, and he, you know, if you guys have seen any of the Rumble packages, Bushwhacker Luke comes out, gets in the ring, and he's just tossed right out by Earthquake. So it's just the second he's in there, he's just pretty much tossed out on the opposite side. Bushwhacker Luke goes over the ropes, and he just continues doing his bushwhacking thing all the way out of the Rumble. So there you have it. Bushwhacker Luke does his whole elimination. Like I said, it was the longest Royal Rumble at the time. Of course, this is going to be beaten later. Number 30 was Tugboat. So there you have that. Final four of the night was the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs, the British Bulldog, Earthquake, and Hulk Hogan. The interesting thing here about Brian Knobbs is that there was no Jerry Sags. They put Brian Knobbs in the match, but not Jerry Sags. I don't know why. Knobbs was eliminated, then Bulldog, or it could have been the other. Actually, no, I was wrong. Bulldog was eliminated first, and then it was Brian Knobbs, because the theme of all the Royal Rumble so far has been 2 heels and 1 face to end it with the face going over. Brian Knobbs gets eliminated, and we're down to Earthquake and Hulk Hogan, who go back and forth. By the way, Brian Knobbs' elimination was great. Hogan hits the big boot, and Knobbs just got out right on time. There's a lot of people Hogan tried to do that big boot do, but they just kind of fell out. Like, it didn't look like it connected, or if it did connect, it took him a second to jump out of the ropes, or Knobbs did it like right away. Good on Knobbs. So like I said, it's down to Earthquake and Hogan. The two of them are going back and forth. Hogan, he's getting his ass beat by Earthquake, and then, Earthquake's punching him in the head. Hogan's just doing his whole thing, and then finally, he points at him, he does the Soldier Boy, and he goes, "You!" And he starts beating up on Earthquake, tosses him over the ropes. Earthquake's eliminated. Hulk Hogan becomes the first man to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles and 2 Royal Rumbles. And even though there was no stipulation for, the winner of the Royal Rumble going on to challenge for the World Championship, Hulk Hogan would go on to challenge for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania to beat Sergeant Slaughter for it. And there's actually, I have a DVD. I think it's called, I'm trying to look at my wrestling DVDs over here and see if I can find it. But I think it was called, like, the greatest WrestleMania matches for, like, the best stars or something like that. I don't know. It was a whole bunch of, like, best matches for certain people. And for Hulk Hogan, they put on the Sergeant Slaughter match. So I always thought that was a little interesting, that Sergeant Slaughter was, at the top of that list there. I guess maybe why it was considered Hogan's best match, because of the angle that was going on about it, but I'm pretty sure Hogan's had some better matches. Anyway, though, let's go ahead and pull up our list here, as I have to edit it real quick. Let me just bring it all up for us. There we go. That's the stuff. And here we go. The current rankings of the Royal Rumble. For the first time, the 4th Royal Rumble does not beat the last Royal Rumble. The way it's been going so far is, it seems like from the first Royal Rumble all the way up to the 3rd Royal Rumble, they just kept getting better and better. But in my honest opinion, I feel like the Royal Rumble 1990 has been the best Rumble we've seen so far still, with a lot of good stories and a lot of good spots being told in there, with 89 being, the second best. A lot of good stories being told in there. 91 was better than 88, because 88, like I said, was pretty sloppy. Even though it was the first Royal Rumble, I'm not going to give it a slide. It was a sloppy Rumble where you can tell that people just weren't really sure what to be doing at that time. And then 91 taking up the 3rd spot So this is where it's going to start getting hard because we're getting to our 5th Rumble here today, day 5-ish. And it's going to get to the point where I'm going to have to start like thinking, all right, well, is this Rumble better than 1990? No. Well, is it better than 89? Like, I'm going to have to start doing that in my head a lot, which once we start getting to bigger numbers, it is going to be a little bit more difficult. But let me go ahead and bring this down for you guys because that is going to be the end of this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and as always, if you have, do me a favor, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you have not already. And like I said, I haven't gone over it this time. I didn't go over it in the last video, so let me go over it real quick. Like I said, I think the best match of the night probably was the Rockers versus the Orient Express. Second best match was probably the Rhodes family versus DiBiase and Virgil. Third best match was the Rumble. Fourth best match was Bossman versus... oh boy. Bossman versus somebody. I can't remember off the top of my head, which is bad. And then the worst match of the night was the Mountie versus Coco Beware. So, Bossman versus Barbarian. That's who it was. Or maybe it was the Warlord. I don't fucking know. It was one of those weird-ass guys. But that's, like I said, going to do it. Like I said, don't forget to leave a like if you've enjoyed this video. Comment if you have any opinions about the show as well. What's your current rankings of the Royal Rumble? Don't forget to share this video with your friends, your Facebooks, your Twitters, all the social media accounts out there. Anyone you think that will enjoy it and will, it helps the channel out. It's greatly appreciated as always. Helps the channel grow. And as always, it's day 5. I will be tonight on Twitch again for day 5 of the Rumble. We're going to be doing it a little bit earlier. As always, keep an eye out for the announcement video. It's usually uploaded around the same time I bring these reviews up. And I'm also going to be trying to do the OMG Fire Pro League tonight. So I'll see you guys at Twitch. And if I don't see you on Twitch, I will see you guys tomorrow or not tomorrow, but maybe tonight for day 5's interview for the Royal Rumble. Or review, not interview. Anyway, my name's been OMG, WTF, LOL, TWBRB. I will see you guys next time. Enjoy.